I always thought the crew of the Enterprise would have to be committed nihilists ever to set foot in a transporter. The slim young redhead in the standard A to B Incorporated uniform laughed, although I'd wager she's heard that one plenty of times by now. I'd agree if transect technology worked that way. You know, when I began working here, I didn't understand why they look for people with degrees in philosophy. Operating the machines is not exactly difficult. We're here mainly because it's less frightening for customers if they see that a pretty girl in a sharp uniform pushes the button rather than having software do it. And the ones who are nervous about how it works get somebody to talk them through it beforehand. Even I'd had a philosophy class back in my first year of college that touched on the question of teleportation. It's pretty entry-level stuff. Is the copy on the other end really you? Is there a soul, or are we simply a specific configuration of atoms? And so on. The stuff of trite science fiction plots. You're never taken apart or put back together, in any sense. The chamber is, though. A transect occurs when absolutely identical conditions are created in two chambers. The air inside, the lining of the chamber, all of it absolutely the same down to the subatomic level. That never occurs in nature and consumes a lot of energy to maintain, but we only need to do it for a split second. The universe confuses the two locations. Basically, superposition on a much larger scale than can otherwise occur due to the astronomical improbability of so many atoms assuming identical configuration and spins by chance. All we do is collapse that indeterminate state, such that you're in the other chamber. I laughed, but then gave it more thought. A great deal in physics is absurd to the point that it's comical, and just becomes more absurd the closer we look. For all I knew, she was lying through her teeth just to calm me down, but that seemed legally untenable. I'd never run into anybody knowledgeable about transect technology who disputed her explanation. It did put me at ease, though. They've done a bang-up job picking girls for this. More than a few picturesque men, too. I'm sure my wife enjoyed that when she went through and would probably tease me about it once I got there. Always swore I'd never get in a transect chamber even if my life depended on it. But when she was chosen for the colony administrator job, I couldn't talk her out of going. Where she goes, I follow. Come to think of it, the waiting room also seems calculated to calm. Brightly colored, a variety of complimentary confections placed next to the plush sofas, replenished on the hour. I don't need to be babied like this. I understand full well the fear is irrational. It's just understanding that doesn't make it vanish. Not entirely. The inside of the transect chamber turned out to be lined with mirrors. The redhead explained that it helps claustrophobics deal with being in a confined space for the minute or so necessary to spin up the transect lensing array prior to firing it. I wish they hadn't. I'm just the opposite. I love enclosed spaces because I can see every part of it, so I know nothing's hiding in there with me. The mirrors defeat that, creating an endless 3D grid-like expanse of my reflections, repeating forever in every direction. I felt a pulsing vibration, then stillness. Just as I thought to yell through the lid that it was taking too long, somebody began to open it. Could that really be the whole process? I'd worked myself up for nothing. Relief washed over me until a pair of men wearing A to B uniforms seized me by the arms and pulled me from the chamber. I shouted every vulgarity at them and threatened to sue, but soon found myself restrained to a cold metal wall alongside hundreds of other frightened-looking men, women, and kids. The deafening sound of machinery filled my ears. Looked to be the inside of some vast industrial facility. Too dark to see any distance, but I could make out multiple stories of rusted metal walkways, crisscrossing above us with uniformed A to B employees walking to and fro. Below that, row after row of conveyor belts. Many immense vats of some sort suspended from chains deposited dollops of sticky black resin on one end of each conveyor belt. Then the belt would move forward by an increment to make room for the next oily discharge. The mound of quivering black goo then passed through a series of assembly line machines, each of which performed some small step, gradually sculpting it into the shape of a person complete with hair, teeth, and every other little detail. One of them approached, like looking in a mirror. They even got the scar on my neck right. A uniformed goon stripped me and handed my clothing to the facsimile. It got dressed, winked at me, then climbed into the transect chamber. There was always the cabin, always the darkness outside of it, the calendar on the wall, and the flickering bulb. But some things do change. There were more of us once, Gumpaw and Gamgam for starters. How we cried deep sobs of anguish when they could not be saved. Too slow, too feeble. Father can only do so much. He is already spread so thin protecting us that nobody blames him for what happened. Out the window I can see other lights in the distance, spread out like strange constellations. Other cabins, I think. But day by day the lights go out. Many hundreds when I was small. Just a few dozen now. Our own light, a single worn bulb dangling on wires from the cracked ceiling mount, is still going strong. Even so, every so often it flickers, goes dark for just the briefest moment. That's enough for it to get in. We only survive because Father is so quick with the axe. It's shaped differently every time, perhaps trying different strategies, but always made from the same viscous, stringy black shit, spreading out like spiderweb, like a rapid mold colony time lapse from the point of entry, writhing, thrashing, a tangled mass of wrong flesh. It takes a lot of work to kill it. If not for Father, I don't know what would happen. Whatever happened to Gamgam and Gumpaw. It just engulfed them. Then when the light next flickered, they were gone. How they screamed, muffled by the constant flow of the black stuff into their open mouths. All we can do is to mark on the calendar when the flickers occur, so there is time to prepare. All the while, the walls close in. Something pushes them from the outside. The darkness, I think. When Father leaves to go hunting in the darkness, the rest of us prop ourselves against the walls and push so that we don't lose any more space. It's the least we can do. Every time he returns with this wild look in his eyes, black, sticky residue splattered across his face, takes ages to wash out of his hair in the metal basin we all bathe in. He never tells us what it is that he sees out there, however we badger him. He says he goes out to hunt so that we can have the luxury of not knowing. Where does the meat come from? Not from the thing that gets in when the light flickers, surely. It's tender and juicy. What little blood left within each cut looks red. But we ask enough questions already. None of us know what it is like to be Father, the only one who dares go outside into the black expanse for the sake of us all. Mother does not always appreciate it. At times she complains that she is left to clean everything, to raise us, to break her back, keeping the walls from moving in. Father is usually content to listen in silence, but today something out there must have rattled him unusually bad, because he snapped. Shut up. Shut the hell up. Listen to yourself. Don't you know what I do for you? For this family? Someone has to go out there. Is it gonna be you? If not, somebody has to keep house while I hunt. Is it so much to ask that I come home to a clean floor and freshly made bed? Is it so much to ask that you do yourself up nice and pretty for me by the time I get back? What I've done just to keep you and the children fed. The things I've done just to bring you meat for your bellies. Oh, ho, ho. The things I've seen out there. Mother quieted down, casting her gaze at the table before her. But she still ventured to say that he could simply tell us what's out there anytime he likes. Her change in tone calmed him down, a great relief to myself and sister, as we'd been watching the exchange wide-eyed and fearful until now. A house divided against itself cannot stand, and something wants very badly for ours to collapse. I'm sorry. If only you knew what's out there, what's always been out there. But if I told you, I'd be worse than useless to you and the kids. Everything I do, day in and day out, is so you can be insulated from that. So you can have something like a normal life, until the boy is of age to take up the axe in my place. After that, before long, what happened to Mom and Dad will happen to me. I began to cry. He came down on me for it as harshly as ever. Stop that. I don't abide any sign of fear. The moment you fear, you are lost. It finds any weakness, however small, and pries you apart from there. I need you to get stronger, for the sake of your mother and sister. Otherwise, the light flickered. Just like that, it was inside, this time spreading from a crack in the door. Pandemonium followed. Sister and I shrieked as we frantically sought someplace to hide. Not that there would be any escape should Father fail. How he hacked at it, bellowing like some great beast, chopping away the new growth bit by bit faster than it regenerates, until he'd whittled it down to the original nucleus. Just before he could deliver the final blow, it squirted some noxious fluid into his eyes. The axe still struck true, and the thing died as it always does. But this time Father collapsed, clawing at his eyes and howling. He's blind now. Several days have passed with no improvement. He lay in bed, simple gray sheets up to his chin, and asks for me to come near. He whispers, "This is why I told you that you must grow stronger. This was always going to happen someday. You can only protect so much with the strength you have. Eventually it takes away whatever you can't. But there's something I haven't told your sister or mother. I kept it from you until now because you were a boy. Now, although I'd like to give you more years as a boy, you must quickly become a man, or all is lost. The walls will close in as you lose power against the darkness. Mother and sister will be taken even as you watch, powerless to stop it." I teared up, remembering too late how he doesn't tolerate tears, but also realizing he couldn't see them. "What is it, Papa?" I whispered to him, clutching his cold hand. "Is it what waits for us outside in the darkness?" He weakly shook his head. "You'll discover that for yourself soon enough. No, it pains me to say it's something much worse. Look at the calendar." I did as instructed and eventually noticed that the flicker had been scheduled for the day after it happened. The bulb's finally going. Dad let out as the last life passed from his body. The flickers will just keep getting closer together. "You don't have to be ashamed," the gurgling mass assures me, "about the things coming out of your body." Its half-formed little arm sensually traces the spot where a bundle of greasy black hoses passes through its skin, puffy and red all around it. I have things coming out of my body, too. A baby's scream pierces the thick, humid air, barely discernible over a loud siren. Shattered glass cylinders all around, revealed sporadically in silhouette by flickering lights. Men in gas masks travel down the rows with hammers, smashing the cylinders that are still intact, spilling their contents into the ever-deepening soup. The screaming suddenly stops. I search frantically for some explanation but cannot get up. My limbs, feeble imitations of what they should be, splash the fetal muck about but do nothing to move me. A maddening itching sensation surrounds the points on my chest where black hoses penetrate into it, but I haven't the fingers with which to scratch. It's not supposed to be this way, I sputter. It looks at once quizzical and mournful. Oh? How is it supposed to be? Another loud smash, and a baby's wail. The men with the hammers abruptly silence it, moving methodically down the rows. My tears mix freely with the amniotic fluid as one of the uniformed men, drenched in it from the waist down, arrives at our row. You know, the bulbous-headed creature with the malformed little arm coos. I always thought you were pretty. It reaches over with its distorted, knobbly paw and caresses my rib cage. I would have said something, but we were in different tanks. I recoil from his touch, shuddering as the man with the hammer finally reaches me. Part of me is dead. I don't mean that emotionally, metaphorically, or any other way, but literal. A good hefty chunk of my body is now metals and plastic. You only find out after the surgery that it's not what the ads implied. I think that's how it keeps spreading. The people who get it pretend nothing's wrong, that it's as fantastic as it looks, because they paid so much for it, and don't want to look like fools. All the while, privately agonizing over the aches, pus, and constantly replenishing crust of scabs that forms wherever metal penetrates the skin. The body thinks it's been wounded and never stops trying to heal, outraged that it's been invaded by some kind of foreign contaminant. It's more right than it knows. The prosthetic, replicating perfectly the movement of every digit and sensations on all touch-sensitive outer coverings, is nonetheless not alive. Where it meets your living tissue is a sharp divide. On one side, close up, a teeming cooperative of single-celled organisms that is you. On the other, cold, dead metal. However responsive, it is only puppetry, never truly a part of you. And I know this. Now I wish somebody had told me sooner that you always feel it. The assumption is that it goes away, but it doesn't. The feeling of the bolts through your bones where the mounts are, flexing, straining, threatening to fracture. The sting where the metal passes through sore, ever-inflamed skin I've since learned the models conceal with cosmetics. That's the fantasy of it. The unspoken assumption you go in with as they drain your bank account, put you under, and prepare to operate. That, in time, you won't feel a difference, that the machine truly becomes a part of you. It never does. It just hangs on and hurts. You tell yourself this is just growing pains, that more metal in your body will somehow fix it, which starts the craving. The more you replace with metal, the less of your body can hurt, driving it all inexorably forward. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you've dumped your savings into novelty surgeries in order to wind up a freakish patchwork primate with motorized prosthetics, aching intensely everywhere that metal meets bone, and surrender to the realization that it's for life. I wish I could say that's the worst of it. I never fully appreciated that there is a spirit dwelling within the parts of me that are alive, until it met what's hiding in the parts of me that aren't. My earliest memories are of light and sound, of being left here, loud weeping fading into the distance. But Mr. assures me I have always lived in the cave with him. My mind sometimes plays tricks on me, but Mr. always sets me straight. In those days, I was alone, crawling blindly about through the darkness, clubbing sickly rats with chunks of stone, eagerly pawing the crushed remains into my mouth. I had to learn to locate them just by sound. Another thing Mister is much better at, he can hear anything that goes on anywhere in the cave. It's how he found me. Bruised, wet, shivering, face caked with dried rat's blood. He took me in, led me to water, and taught me to fend for myself. I'd called him Mister then, vaguely remembering that it's good manners, and it just kind of stuck. It hurts me to speak, so listen carefully. From this day forward, you will kill some of those who enter this cave and bring their bodies deeper into the cave that I might eat. I will always leave enough to nourish you, but only so that you can continue in my service. I didn't yet know what others were. They turned out to be a kind of animal that periodically enters the cave, wearing all manner of colorful clothing. Gift wrapped for Mister, I like to say. They can speak, and indeed I've learned many words by eavesdropping on them. Never for too long, though. Mister does not tolerate dawdling, least of all when he's hungry. I was so very frightened when I killed the first other. I was still small then, but by hurling a stone from a higher passage I made it sleep. Hitting them in the head will do that. It's how I know sleep and death are related. Mister sleeps most of the time. It makes me worry. When I dragged it to the spot where he meets me, I was still crying. "Stop that," he demanded. "I do not tolerate fear." I know he cares because he doesn't want me to be afraid. It's just hard for him to say it because it hurts him to speak in a way I can understand. Loud noises, too. Mister has very delicate ears. When I got old enough that the others with long hair and chest bumps started to look uncomfortably good to me, I began trying to spare them. I'd kill him in extra, as I often find these ones escorted by someone much stronger. More meat for Mister, but he knew right away that I'd stashed it someplace. He hears everything, and when it woke up, it started screaming. I do not tolerate screaming. Get rid of the source. Quickly, get rid of it. Get rid of it. I pleaded with him that I was lonely, but received only a lashing from one of his many long, slender legs. A wrathful Mister. If I fought back, I could break one of those legs. I wouldn't be the first, but it's unthinkable after everything he's done for me. Looking back, I'm the one who was wrong for trying to hide something from him. Despite that, he let me keep the head. It didn't stay pretty for long, but I got to practice pressing my lips on it, something I'd seen them do from afar many times. That's how it goes, every time I try to save one for myself. I've amassed quite the collection of heads now. I like to wash their hair and pretend to have conversations with them, about what I imagine they used to talk about. No doubt their own loving misters, back in the caves where they lived. You'd think I would learn my lesson, but I guess that's just part of whom I am. I always have to learn things the hard way. Although he told me on many occasions not to leave the cave, my curiosity overpowered me, and I began exploring for a short ways around the entry on the surface. I took care to wear clothing I keep from the ones I deliver to Mister. Made sure to wash my face and hair in the little stream that runs down from the surface, on account of they always look so clean. But I dawdled, even knowing what would happen. The light and sound seduced me. When I returned, I found Mister instructing one of the others he'd captured himself. From this day forward, you will kill some of those who enter this cave, and bring their bodies deeper into the cave that I might eat. I will always leave enough to nourish you, but only so that you can continue in my service. I threw myself at the other in a tearful rage. How could he replace me? With a simple animal, no less, even if they do look somewhat like me. When I finished crushing its skull with the rock I'd chosen, Mister had stern words for me. If ever you are remiss in your duties, I will find a new instrument. The moment that happens, you are simply more meat to me. He's strict, but fair. I absolutely was wrong to linger on the surface, after he'd made it clear never to venture there. Since then, because he is merciful and patient, he allows that I make short visits provided I am not seen by anyone. Some amount of sunlight may improve your performance. Mr. just hates sunlight. He's fragile, you see. So very big that it is hard work to move about the caves on those long, thin legs of his. Aside from his ears, his eyes are also terribly sensitive. He can never get too close to the entrance. That's what he has me for. To follow them in. Then to separate them if there are many, and bring him as much as he needs. I lay awake sometimes wondering what my life would be if he hadn't found me. He lets me lay near him when I sleep, provided I never touch him. I'm to absorb his waste heat. He says it may improve my performance, but I know the real reason. He's just not that open with his feelings. My shy, sweet, delicate mister. He's all I need. I don't know why I keep trying to spare the pretty ones, but I discovered in one of their bags a roll of sticky one-sided material and quickly hatched a plan. If I sealed their mouth, I could prevent screaming for long enough that they could get to know me. And Mister, to see we're not such bad guys. Maybe it would even want to press lips. Wow, someone left all these prop bones back here. The stronger one shines a light on the heap of leavings from Mister's past meals. I sometimes keep their lights, like a small version of that big one up above, outside the cave. I do not know how they bring little bits of that light down to use, but eventually the little bits just grow dimmer and dimmer, then finally go dark. I wonder if the big light will do that too someday. They don't even begin to look real. What sort of juvenile... I hear it pick up a bone. I don't know if these are fake, actually. The other comes over to inspect. Of course they're fake. This cave's out of the way, but if somebody were dumping bodies here or whatever, the cops would catch wind of it. Put it down. We're almost to the end. The strong one whimpers that his feet hurt, but is eventually goaded into it by the smaller one's playful challenging. When the light passed over the big one, it was enough to get a sense of its muscle mass. From there, I worked out roughly how much energy I'd spend disabling it, how long it would take, and how far the smaller one would get in that time. It might be less work to take care of the smaller one first. The big ones often stay to protect and nurse the wounds of their smaller partners. But I would then lose the element of surprise and have to fight him conventionally. I have no small number of scars attesting to the wisdom of taking out the big ones first, so that's what I did. Quietly enough that the other one didn't realize what had happened until I was upon it. Its mouth wrapped up, just as hoped. It could not scream. The sticky material was also handy enough for binding its wrists and ankles. I first presented the big one to Mister in hopes of mitigating my punishment. He was still quite severe. When he gets like this, out comes the stump. He'll wave it about to drive home for me how easily they can hurt him if I let them get too far into the cave. Poor, fragile Mister. It's why he needs me to hunt for him. I'm only too happy to do it. After explaining how I'd bound and silenced the smaller one, he abided the experiment. What a patient, understanding Mister. The others may have their own Misters back in their own caves, but assuredly, none are as wonderful as mine. I hear the clickety-click of his fast-moving mouth parts as he eats. It's over frightfully quick. Then comes the long part, cleaning up. He cannot stand to have our filth on him. Blood, of course, but also the oils and other nasty stuff that's always on our skin. I clean many times a day, hoping it will be enough to get close to him, but it never is. I just want to touch him, to show him I love him back, but it's enough for me that he knows. I wanted it to work out so badly. I was patient with it, as Mister is with me. Eventually, I could take off the gag without it immediately screaming, but only after I showed it what happened to the ones that wouldn't stay quiet. But that didn't last. The minute I was gone for too long, it set to screaming for help. That was tough to smooth over with Mister. The stupid animal didn't understand what lengths I was going to just to keep it alive. So, I administered some discipline the same way he does with me. I don't like to do it, but the experience really helped me understand why he has to. Sometimes there's just no other way. It quieted down after that, but I still bind its mouth when I sleep. I thought that would be the end of the troubles. He told me. I didn't listen. Never let one who knows about me leave the cave alive. It will bring others with weapons. It somehow never entered into my mind that the pretty one I'd saved for myself would betray me so terribly after showing such remarkable progress. I could never have made it this far without him. I dare not risk his life over my own bodily weakness. So when I went to wash my pretty one's hair but found it missing, I set off in chase immediately. Mister joined in pursuit just behind me, hot breath on the back of my neck. He will have stern words for me later, maybe worse, but nothing I haven't earned. We were in such a rush to catch up that I don't think he realized we were nearing the cave entrance until we got there. It must burn his poor eyes terribly, I thought. All because of me. I motioned as if to look back, but he stopped me. Never look upon me. Never. The moment you do, I find a new instrument. A group of others stood before me, partway through their descent into the cave entry. Is she hurt? Wait, she looks... Did you tie her up, man? That's some kinky shit. I could not be bothered with them just yet. Mister laid into me like never before, for trying to keep one for myself, for letting it escape. Tears rolled down my face as I pleaded with Mister for mercy. Bro, who are you talking to? One of the others shone its light on me. In a fit of confusion, I did what Mister told me I must never, ever do. I looked back. Only empty cave behind me as far as their little lights could reveal. I cackled. Mister is an expert at hiding. Some others in blue coverings came for me. I fought them as hard as I could and even put 2 of them to sleep before the rest overpowered me. It worked. They went no further. I protected Mister just like I always have. Now I'm in a strange small cave with flat sides and metal bars, waiting. They sent one to talk with me about what goes on back home, saying confusing, foolish things about Mister, about desperation, coping, and my mind. I tell it how urgently I must return to the cave, as Mister hates dawdling. It doesn't listen, and only continues to bore me with meaningless questions. I endure it all knowing full well that my bold, heroic Mister will come to save me soon enough, because I'm his beloved instrument,